Hey everyone, it's Paul from Alexander Knife Sharpening and Laser Engraving. I wanted to do a little bit of a follow-up on the KS-123 angle setter for the Tormek. I'm doing some sharpening here today. I actually have my diamond wheels out today. As you guys know, I like to use CBN a lot, but I also own all the Tormek diamond wheels. A lot of times I use them when I have a super steel knife because it is recommended to use diamond for super steel, and that way I can prolong the life of my CBN wheels. Although I will tell you, I have sharpened many super steel knives on CBN because there were sometimes I just didn't feel like breaking the water out and things like that, and my CBN wheels are still doing great. It's 5 years now. They have not worn out. They are in fantastic shape. I get this question a lot from people about, should I buy the CBN? Should I get the Tormek Diamond? And for me, it's not even like, I like having both, and that might be something you want to do eventually. My reasons might be very different than what your reasons are. So a lot of people are concerned about dust grinding dry with the CBN, and I don't really concern myself with that much. If I'm grinding dry, I throw on my 3M mask. Does it make dust? Yeah, there is going to be some metal dust around. I haven't found it to go all over the place. I have even tested with my air quality checker, and I don't even know that it's necessary to have a mask on because my air quality checker, which is very sensitive and goes off with all kinds of things, mostly my lasers, if I forget to turn the ventilation on, never go off when I'm grinding, dry or wet. But you know what? I'll test it again, and I'll show you that test. But for me, it's not a big deal. Even if it did go off, even if it was, I still throw a mask on just to be safe. If I'm grinding dry, I put on a mask. I use a 3M mask. It doesn't bother me at all, because I've been doing it for so long. The real question is more like, are you concerned about getting, where are you grinding? Like, I'm in my garage, so I don't care if it gets a little messy in here. But if you're, in your house, then maybe you want to look to grinding wet all the time. But if I was in my house, also grinding wet would be easier. Those are just different factors. I wouldn't say that there's a huge difference between either one. Both of them are great. The diamond wheels are great. CBN wheels are great. Have I ground wet with my CBN wheels? Yes, I have. And if I use my CBN wheels from Wood Turner's Wonders, I generally tend to use either Tormek water treatment, or I use Hone Right Gold honing treatment to keep my wheels in good shape. And I've never had them rust. And the good thing with the water treatment is you can use it over and over and over again. If it evaporates a little bit overnight, you add a little water to it. But I've used a single treatment of honing solution for 30 days. Eventually it gets so bad, like I have filtered it before, but I try not to waste it because the bottles aren't cheap. But in general, for me, grinding wet or dry has more to do with a lot of times seasonal conditions. I don't like to grind wet in the winter when it's a lot colder in my shop and I don't feel like dealing with the water or spilling water. So a lot of times it's easier just to grind dry with the CBN wheels. But you can go either way. Like I said, they're both fantastic choices. They both work really well. If you want to grind wet with CBN, you can do that too. There's no reason you can't. Almost all CBN out there, people will tell you, if you grind wet and you don't use water treatment, just dry it off thoroughly afterwards. I've heard of times of it delaminating, but it's never happened to me on any of my Wood Turner's Wonders wheels. And I ground with them. One of the tests I did way back, for a month, I ground with it with regular water, drying them off every day, and they were fine. Now, is it a pain to try and remember to dry stuff off? It can be, especially if you're running around doing stuff, dealing with customers. That's pretty much that. Let's kind of move on to an update with the angle setter. The new angle setter is fantastic. And one of the things I love about it, not just so the other day I showed you, it was great. I could go from my two machines inside to my Japanese Waterstone, and for once it didn't dull the knife. And I've done it a few times now, and that's just worked great. It's actually made me decide to keep my Japanese Waterstone because for a long time I thought about selling it. The other thing that I love it for, and I think this will be very helpful for a lot of new Tormek sharpeners, is for honing. So to set your angle on the honing wheel, it used to be kind of a pain. And with the new angle setter, especially if you have a front vertical mount, now I have an older front vertical mount. There is a brand new one out that is part of the setup for doing chisels. So this is the new one of these. This is the MB-100. The new version actually can be used as a front vertical mount too. So this is a nice piece to pick up, would be the new, whatever replaced the MB-100. I'll look it up for the video and get you the correct terminology. I forget what they call the new one. I just so happen that I have a front vertical mount, which they're can be kind of difficult to find nowadays, but now you don't need to because you can buy the MB-100, which is great for doing chisels and grinding on the side of diamond wheels, or CBN if you have the tornado wheels that have the side. I don't have tornado wheels, so if I'm going to grind on the side, I have to use my diamonds. That's the other reason I have these, for doing chisels and things like that. But let me just show you quickly here on a regular knife. So here's a regular knife. I set this already for 20 degrees. So I have this set for 20 degrees. This is a Kershaw that a customer brought in. He loves this style. He brought in 3, and I think he already brought me 3 others of these, so he gets these a lot. That looks perfect at 20. It is, I'll show you the grind mark there is covering that bevel exactly where I want it. So I'm going to start this up and get started on this one. And that looks pretty good. I need to hit a little bit down here more at the base. Not uncommon. Keep in mind, like that's the part on the stone the least amount of time. It's already coming off a lot sooner than the tip that's getting drug all the way across. So sometimes you have to go back and touch up that base a little more. Let's go to the other side. And that feels real good. I'm just going to hit, I did about 4 beyond the 7 the last time on the other side. So I'm going to just do 4 more strokes here. Yeah, and we have a nice burr. Okay, so now I'm going to do my normal switch. I don't have to change anything because these stones are exactly the same size. I'm going to jump over to my 1200 grit diamond and continue sharpening this knife. And that looks really nice, really mirrored. So now what I'm going to do is show you why I love this new angle setter, especially if you combine it with a front vertical mount. So I already did this, but I'll just show you real quick. So here's a different mount, right? This is the actual extended one. But what I did was I had already set it on there to the proper size for this. So now if I want this to set it properly for my hone, all I have to do is put it on here and then make adjustments till I'm right at 20. Like I said, I already set this so it's spot on. So I'm just going to tighten my front vertical mount, make sure that's all in there, and unsnap. So now what's really nice, a lot of guys struggle with learning to hone properly on the Tormek when they first start out. And you have to always remember, like, this wheel's smaller, so that angle's smaller. So it used to be a pain with the angle, with the old angle setter, trying to set the angle on here and having to move everything around. With the new angle setter, it's so quick and so easy to do. It really makes it a joy to hone on the Tormek. So I'm just going to show you that real quick. And now I know that this angle is correct, because it's exactly set to where it's supposed to be. Whew. So that was just 4 passes. We have a beautiful mirrored edge starting again. I've always loved Tormek paste. It does do a nice job of just putting a beautiful beginning of a mirrored edge on knives. And I'm not a mirrored blade fan. I don't mind a mirrored edge, but I'm not a big fan of having mirrored knives. Whew. I hit my jig there, but you can see that is very sharp. Yeah, we're push cutting right through. Look at that. All just tip. If you've been struggling with getting your honing right on the Tormek wheel and you're still using the old angle setter, I would say definitely invest in this thing. It's just spot on. And they did such a great job engineering it. And you can see, you know, what was that, 5-6 minutes on here with 2 stones and then a little bit of honing, and this knife is ready to go back. So you can't really beat it, guys. I think it's well worth the small investment, because you know, we all know Tormek stuff's not cheap, but fortunately they're not charging a ton for the angle setter. So I think it's worth it. Last time I looked, I think it was right around $50, and I think it's worth every penny of that. I think it will alleviate a lot of frustration, not just for new people, but even for, you know, guys like me have been using it for a long time. I still love it. It takes the guesswork out of it, is really what it's doing. Have a great day, y'all.